Appreciate it. Okay, we're live. All right, you guys. We are tapping in. Let's see. So, how was your day? Yeah, I know.
It was
So
good. It
yeah,
was good. I
anything
mean,
special?
um, not yet. That's for tonight. But yeah, I mean, any day.
Right.
I'm not even. I didn't even mean like that.
Okay. All right.
I
Sorry.
mean, because she works all day, so
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been on here all freaking day. I mean,
Oh,
doing my
really?
video, and then and do my live, and then doing this. So when I get off here, then it's all about
Mm-hmm.
her the rest of the night. So no, it definitely supports me for sure. Appreciate you
That's
too. But I'm getting all ready. But hey, any day that we wake up and we have air in our lungs, man, it's a beautiful day for sure.
That's
You know,
right. That's right. I
should
agree
have
with
been dead a
that for
long time
sure.
ago.
I
Yeah.
know, right? You know what?
Thank
Let
you for
me.
having me. I
Thank you
like
for
your
being
channel.
here. Look at. Thank you. I like your channel too. Let me plug my This is so unprofessional, but my computer's dying. So one second.
It's all good. I got Cujo, Andrew Martinez. I got you, Chuck G, Carlos, and wife. What's up, my boy Carlos, Pastor, Lil
Right.
Ray Ray. What's up, everybody? Welcome,
Right
guys. On behalf
on.
of the channel.
Yes, yes. So nice to see all of you guys. I know I caught part of your live earlier. I was like, okay, cool. Sounds a lot like my life with the little ones at home, kind of balancing everything out, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's I don't know how old how old yours are, but definitely my little 10-month-old. He's going through some stuff right now, and it's just me
Mhm.
adapting. It's just me adapting, and being a dad. I'm proud of it, man. I wouldn't change it
You
for the
should
world.
be. You should
Yeah,
be, definitely. That's what's up.
yeah.
Definitely. You have an older child too, right? I think you mentioned that the other day.
Yeah, my daughter, my oldest, my daughter. Okay, so I have my daughter. She's 17. She's about to be 18.
Mhm.
And then I got Gabriel and Isabella. Those are my wife's kids.
Okay.
From her previous baby dad.
Mhm.
She's 8 and he's 7, and then I got my 10-month with her.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
They're all my kids
Yeah, right on. I have a blended family too, so I feel you.
for
You got
sure.
I have six altogether, so.
Tienes seis? All yours?
Mhm. Well, I mean, all mine, but two
All
are
yours.
my
All that's
bonus
good.
babies. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's good.
So I'll just, if it's okay, I'll ask you a few questions. I know it's probably a little bit repetitive since you have your own channel, but I'm trying to get to know you a little better, you know?
All good.
All right.
Shit, you might even
So
tap into some of the things I haven't said.
you never know, right?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
where did you grow up? You grew up Southern California, is that right?
Yeah, I grew up down south, specifically from the city of Santa Ana. We call it
Mhm,
Santa Ana, Orange County.
mhm,
Um, it's between we're above San Diego,
mhm.
below LA County, next to IE and Riverside. So we're kind of like in the middle of the Southern California area. And so yeah, I was born in Los Angeles. I was born in what is it, USC Medical Center.
Mhm.
The Trojan. I'm a Trojan. I was born there because my mom's at the time had her state insurance. That's the only hospital that would actually take her welfare at the time. So we had to drive up from Santana. We used to live off a street called Rosewood in Bristol. So we drove all the way up to Los Angeles, 30, 40 minutes, so that she could give birth to me. Was in a hospital for whatever, however she had to be in there for,
Mhm.
past the maternity ward and all that. And then we came right back to Santana. So yeah, that's where I was born. But that's
Mhm.
where I'm from, Santana, for sure.
Right on. Right on. Okay. Yeah, my older girls, that's where their dad was from. His family was from that area. Well, I don't know what area, but they're from Santa Ana. But
Oh, okay. I
well,
mean,
I mean, I've
shit.
been down
That's
there a couple times, but not many.
where you from? What city you from?
Salinas. I live up
Oh,
north.
okay.
Yeah, I still
Oh,
live here. I'm
I mean, I
still
know
here.
that's the hub for the northern cause and all that, but to me, that's kind of like Central California. If I'm gonna
Yeah,
get
it is
technical,
right.
but I know that's like northern as far as like that's northern
Right.
headquarters for sure.
Yeah,
I
that's
know
why I
that.
say northern because most people refer
Yeah,
to it as that, but really, you can
and you're
get
not
to
wrong.
anywhere.
Yeah, you're not
Hmm.
wrong for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have brothers and sisters?
I have one brother. You know, uh,
Hmm.
unfortunately, he's down, and I'm playing. He's still involved in the lifestyle. He's He's
Okay.
he's like involved. When I say involved, he's involved. Like
Oh, yeah.
he's like really involved. Some of the stuff that all these channels are talking about, as far as the organizations and all that. He's like
Mm-hmm.
knee deep, chest
Mm-hmm.
deep, neck deep, and
Yeah.
forehead deep into it.
Yeah.
Um, that's his path, though. We were
Mm-hmm.
a team for a long time. It was just me and him for a long time. That's all it was. The neighborhood pushing the stuff, pushing the gang, pushing the freaking politics, all that BS. I never really got involved with the politics as far as me pushing it, but
Mm-hmm.
I felt under that umbrella, so I definitely had to conform and
Sure.
get in line.
Yeah. Of course. Of
Yes,
course.
sir.
Yes.
Yeah,
Hey guys, were you and your brother ever incarcerated at the same time, like
actually, yes,
together?
we were. Yeah, the only time we were ever, because he's a year and a half older than me, right? It's kind of hard to
Mm-hmm.
tell your older brother, give him advice, right? But nonetheless, he actually does listen to me, but not when it comes to the lifestyle because he's not
Right.
ready. But the only time we were actually, oh no, there was two times.
Mm-hmm.
The first time was in Wasco State Prison.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was on D yard when I got out of the hole at sec from D yard. They sent me over to A yard,
Mm-hmm.
and he ended up getting there. And we were in the same building for like maybe like about a month or two.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole time we did okay, so we didn't know that the staff, the COs, will actually let you sell up with your brother. We didn't know that. We were trying to be sneaky about this shit, and
Yeah.
we are trying to get this. What was her name? It was a female staff. We were trying to get her. She was really mean, man. She was a hell of
Oh
a
no.
she was
Yeah.
mean as hell. But she took a liking to us, because we were always respectful to her.
Yeah.
And we kept telling her, "Hey, can we do this? Can you do a sell move for me and my buddy? This and that,
Mm-hmm.
right?" And she never checked our names up to that point, right? And we kind of asked each other like, what's she gonna say when she sees that we have the same last name? And we're like, and my last name is it's not one of those last
Not
names where,
common.
okay, so Lopez and Lopez, there's a lot of
Got
Lopez's,
it.
right? My last name is unique, so it would have she'll be like, what the hell, She's like, we'll get to that when we need to. When you let her know, like, hey, it is what it is. You gonna
Yeah.
do the move or not? But anyways, so we're telling her, hey, can you do the move for us, this and that? She kept putting it off because in prison that you only really do moves on the
Mm-hmm.
weekends. Saturdays, that's like the day to do bed moves, courtesy bed moves. So
Mm-hmm.
finally at the end, I'm like, you know what, bro? I'm just gonna get at her and tell her like, look, we're brothers. Can you freaking move us in together before we? Because this was reception. A reception.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who's out here that knows reception is just like, the waiting point until you get to the main line to the prison that you're gonna be at.
Yeah.
So you're only gonna be there 2 to 3 months max. So we had already been there 2 months. So at any day we could leave. You know. So I finally went up to her like, look, hey, we're brothers. Can you please move us in? I'm just trying to spend some time with my brother. You know what she told me? She's like, "Oh my God, guys, you guys should have told me this shit from day one. I would have moved you in day one. It's it's actually encouraged. We
Yeah.
didn't know that they actually encourage, yeah, family being with each other because they kind of
Oh,
it tends to like prevent the violence because you want to be with your family
that's
as much as
true.
you want, right? We
Yeah.
didn't know that. We had that criminal
Mhm.
mentality. We just didn't know. So yeah, when it finally went down, we were cellies. We moved in, and we were together for like 6, 7 days max.
Wow.
And we hadn't seen each other for years because he was always locked up. I was always locked up. So whenever he got out, I was locked up. Whenever I got out, he was locked up. So we never
Mhm.
seen each other
Yeah.
before the age of 13, 14. So yeah, we moved in for about a week, and he got kind of teary eyed. And I'm talking about a dude that it's cold hearted, when it comes to certain things, but he has a big
Yeah.
heart when it comes to things that. And he kind of teared up. I didn't tear up at the time. But I teared up
Mhm.
like probably years later when I actually thought about the moment, and kind of felt bad about it. But yeah, we
Mhm.
didn't know when we were gonna see each other next. Because I had 15 years to do. He had about 2 years with halftime. He was gonna get out within a year, so he knew that he wasn't going to see me for a very long time. We already
Yeah.
knew that the fact that we were actually able to run into each other at that time was very
Mhm.
rare, and it is rare. It's freaking rare.
I bet.
So yeah, that's to answer your question. That's the time when I did time with my brother, and then I ended up seeing in Mississippi. They sent me out of state to Tallahatchie County in Mississippi, maybe about 40 minutes south of Memphis, Tennessee. That's actually where we landed in the airport, and yeah. That's the next time I seen him. So
Wow. In a completely different state. What a trip. Yeah,
yeah,
that's crazy. I've only heard of that, I think, one other time with brothers, and then one time with a father and a son. I was like, that must have been a trip, to be sailed up
yeah.
with your, yeah.
The
So was
Mississippi,
it
the
right?
Mississippi one was crazy because that's a Mississippi. Not only is it a different state, it's a different world. You know, that's the South over there. You know, I mean, I've always been a student of history, and I'm well
Mhm.
aware of the South, and the
Right.
whole civil rights movement, and all the segregation, and the
Mhm.
white and the black being separated, and they're
Mhm.
still separated. You know, don't
Wow.
mistake that. But it's a different world. It was predominantly black. The prison that I was at, there was
Mhm.
99.9% black, and most of the CEOs were women, black women. It's
Really?
crazy. Yeah, it was a trip. It was a
How, if
different.
you don't mind me, yeah, sorry, if you don't mind me asking, how did they like receive you? Was it like when you got there? Was it
Well,
a different vibe, like off top, or?
okay, so California inmates had already been there for 6, 7 plus years. Um, I mean, they're ghetto. They're down to earth. They talk to you
Mhm.
different from CEOs in California. CEOs in California, I mean, we really don't talk to them. It's just different.
Yeah.
When we got over there, just to give you an example, I was walking back from medical. I went up to the dentist, walking back from medical, and there's two black female CEOs coming towards me,
Mhm.
and they were like, and she would just tell me, she's like, "What's up, motherfucker?" Cussing, like she cussed at me. She's like, "What's up, man?" Oh, hey, you must have.
Yeah.
And I looked around like, how are you talking to? Like I didn't
Right.
care that she could, that she. I was tripped out. She was like, "What's up, man? I'm talking to you." They talk to you like human beings. There, they talk to you like you're on the
Oh,
streets. Like they talk to you. Before
yeah.
I got there, there was a lot of them COs that they were corruptible in the sense where
Mhm.
they were starting a lot of relationships with the inmates from California.
Mhm.
Because we're just
Yeah.
different. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that's kind of how she talked to me. And I always kind of looked at her, and as soon as she told me that, I was like, "What's up, girl?" I started talking to her. I didn't miss a beat. I was just kind of
Yeah.
surprised at first. Like I didn't. I'm used to California. This is right when I got there. I was used to
Yeah.
California COs. The California COs not gonna talk to you like that. It's like, hey, make call to medical. Hey, stand in line. Hands behind your back
Mhm.
type shit. Over there, like, what's
Right.
up? Like so. It's just different. If
Yeah.
they're down to earth, they'll actually talk to you. So yeah, definitely a better experience. That's for sure.
It sounds like it. Like I would think that is even a little bit of humanity. You know what I mean? Like you feel
Yeah,
you're not basically being called by your last name or a number, you know?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's
definitely
pretty
treat
cool
you
to
like a
hear.
human
Yeah.
being.
For
Yeah.
sure. So where did you go? Like once you left law school, where were you first sent in California?
Okay, so once I caught my bag, and my first mainline was Centinela State
Hmm.
Prison to Sea Yard. There's a level 4, 270, and the difference between a 180 and a 270 is the design. It's the design of the prison, the blueprint. So when they build the prison, they have a 270 or 180 design. The 270 is like a 5 block system, and that's the shape of it. It's a 270 design as far as the shape of the blueprint. A 180
Mm-hmm.
is 8 blocks. And the reason the 180 is high powered, it's level 4 yard, it's high security. The highest security is because the buildings were built in such a way where the CO could actually look inside every single cell from the tower. They could walk through the
Okay.
tower and look into almost every single cell. On a 270, it's not built that way. They can't look into
Hmm.
every cell. So you could sit
Hmm.
there and kill your cell if you wanted to, and they wouldn't even find out until they walked around for count time. That's why the 180s, when you hear, oh, I was on a 180 yard at level 4. So for the,
Hmm.
the connotations in that, for those individuals that know what we're talking about and that we've been there, we
Hmm.
know that only a 180 is the highest of the highest, and it's the highest security that you could get to. And as far as supervision, they got obvious. Every prison has live ammunition, maybe with the exception of the
Hmm.
lower yards, but they don't play no jokes. They don't play no games,
Yeah.
and they definitely supervise it for sure. But Sentinel State Prison was my first main line. Yeah, for
Hmm.
sure.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting to hear because I do notice that people make a point to say I was on a level 4 180 or like that's a huge deal to make that clarification, it seems like. So thank you for sharing that. I knew there was a difference, but I didn't know the details, you know?
Yeah, that's the difference right there.
Yeah.
It's the design of the prison based on the security concerns that they have, so that they can
Hmm.
monitor inmates better. That's what it's based on.
Got it. Okay. Now, when you and your brother were incarcerated at the same time, if you don't mind me asking, your family, I don't know if you had a mother and a father that were alive or grandparents, how did your family feel that you know of? I'm sure they were, upset, but were they supportive? Did you have a family that was able to come and see you or write you, or was there family support? I guess is what I'm trying to say.
No. We were a family of five. My
Okay.
dad, my parents got divorced maybe at the age of 8 when I was like 8 years old. It was
Hmm.
a big incident in my life, them splitting
Hmm.
apart. You're 8 years old. Definitely devastated me at the time. They split apart because up until then, the world was a freaking fantasy world to me.
Hmm.
Not just to be raw with you. Um, but after that, my mom was a single mom of three. It was three of us: my older brother and then my younger sister. I haven't heard from her in about 20 years, but that's just what it is. Um,
Yeah.
but when me and my brother were in the state prison system, okay, my mom, I didn't hear the last time I see my mom, and when she rests in peace, it was what, like in 2006, right before I went to prison. She came to visit me,
Hmm.
behind a glass window. That's where the county visits, and
Hmm.
I was in the county jail for a few years fighting my case, and she visited me maybe like 3 times. She wasn't able to come. She had a warrant out for her arrest because of her undocumented status.
Hmm.
So she had a deportation order, so she wasn't trying to go into the the county jail where
Yeah.
she,
Sure.
you know,
Of course.
and rightfully so. So she
Hmm.
came to see me finally. Maybe about I hadn't seen her for a year and a half before then. But then when I told her what I got sentenced to, I told her, I got 15 years. I don't know when I'm going to
Mm.
see you next. So if you want to come see me now, will be the time. And
Yeah.
it's crazy, because she came to see me and I talked to her. We had a good conversation. I was always close to my mom,
Hmm.
and shit, I haven't spoken about. Damn, I haven't talked about this in a long
Yeah.
time. Um,
Appreciate you
yeah,
sharing.
yeah, it's all good. I remember talking to her and just thinking to myself, like, damn, I don't know when I want to see her again. If I see
Mhm.
her again. And unfortunately, I never got to see her again. But knowing that I had 15 years, that's a decade and a half. Um, so yeah, and I remember at the time being at least wise enough to know and
Mhm.
being conscious of the fact that I might never see her again. And I took in everything. I tried to take every vivid moment with her that I could, and
Mhm.
I still remember it to this day because I made it a point to remember it. And
Mhm.
that's the last time I seen her. I did talk to her maybe about 3 to 4 times throughout my whole term. The chances
Mhm.
that I did get because I was on lockdown a lot and I was in the shoe a lot in the hole shit like that.
Mhm.
But no, my whole prison term, I never got a visit from anybody. Um, I was pretty much forgotten. And part of that was self-inflicted, because I did have when I was on the streets, I did have girls and all that stuff and all that shit. But
Mhm.
I was running amok. I wanted to do what I wanted to do. I had my baby's mom at the time, and I remember her telling her like, hey, I was on the run. I was looking at life, for two different cases, two different
Mhm.
shootings. And I remember telling her, like, hey, when I get locked up, are you going to be there for me? She's like, I can't promise you anything. So I was like, all right, cool.
Mhm.
She no, say no more.
Yeah.
And I went on
Mhm.
about my own business and I started messing with the girls that I wanted to mess with. And I put her to the side. And
Mhm.
she definitely, she definitely made me pay for it. She never want to see me.
Yeah.
No, she want to see me like 2 times in the county.
Okay.
But in prison, no. She
It
never want
was.
to see me. For over a
Mhm.
decade, I was by myself, and she did her thing. She had 3 other kids,
Mhm.
so she lived her life. She lived on. She went on with her life, and that was that.
Mhm.
I couldn't be mad. I
Yeah.
mean, no, I was hurt. I was devastated when she had the
Of
first kid,
course.
but after that, I
Mhm.
understood the fact that it's like, what, it is what it is. I'm in here. I'm not gonna be
Yeah.
out for a long time. I can't blame
Mhm.
her for what she's doing, you know. Although she did try to, reestablish or reignite something, it wasn't
Yeah.
gonna happen. Too much had happened since then, and I had
Mhm.
already told myself, being alone all those years, that I'm gonna do me. I'm gonna find the woman that wants to be with me.
Mhm.
So. So anywho, yeah, no, yeah, my mom's or my dad was he got deported years ago, a long time ago. My family's from El Salvador. I'm
Mhm.
Salvadorian. Um, and my pops, I talk to him. I talk to him as often as I can, which is like every couple of days. He's over there.
Mhm.
He's been deported for a very long time. But yeah, he was involved as well. His life wasn't perfect to say the least. But as
Yeah.
far as my mom's, yeah, I never had no visits or anything or support or anything. I basically had to fend for myself. I had to hustle. I had to learn how to draw. I had to learn how to tattoo. I had to learn how to make moonshine. I had to learn how to, you know, be self
Yeah.
sufficient. And
Yeah.
that's how I lived in there. But yeah, definitely for sure.
Survival. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. You learn survival skills. That's for sure. Um, I mean, I respect it. You did what you had to do to survive and thrive, despite the circumstances. A lot of people, I don't think, realize how blessed they are to have family support. Because not everybody has it while they're doing their bid, their time, and it makes it a whole lot
I
easier, I
say,
think.
I say in one of my videos, no support in prison. I tell guys like, man, if you guys are in there, if you're listening to me, or even if
Hmm.
you're out here and you have the misfortune of going back to prison or the county jail,
Hmm.
I tell individuals like, look, dude, don't take advantage of your people. Don't take advantage of them. Be blessed for whatever they could help you out with. If they go to visit you, man, you're blessed.
Hmm.
Appreciate them. Do right by them by never going back. Why would you want to
Right,
put your
right,
people through that stuff again? But yeah, for
right.
sure.
Thank you, Athletic. Yeah, for sure. With I know you said that you and your baby mom had parted ways. Were you able to stay in contact with your daughter somewhat, or not at all until you were done with your time?
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, yeah. I always wrote her when I could. I send
Mhm.
the letters to her grandma's house. I send her drawings whenever I could, cards,
Mhm.
letters. I was always a constant presence in my daughter's life. I remember when
Nice.
she was a tiny little thing, all the
Oh.
way up until I had my first phone call and hearing her voice for the first time. I see my daughter
Mhm.
grow through pictures. I can't
Uh-huh.
I can't sit here and tell you what it was like, but I remember at the time wondering what she was gonna sound like, what she was gonna look like, and now when I
Yeah.
finally seen this young lady become an adult, become a young, beautiful young woman,
Wow.
um, I can't help but think that time flies. Time flies, man. I remember thinking like, shit, I'm about to go to prison. I'm gonna do a
Mhm.
long time in there, and I wonder what she's gonna look like I said, and sound like. And I watched her grow up through pictures. I still have all those pictures. I watched her grow up through pictures,
Yeah.
and but I was a constant presence
Good.
from
Yeah.
afar. Albeit from afar.
Right.
And unfortunately, my baby mom, she had her struggles as well. She was
Mhm.
addicted as well to substances and things like that.
Mhm.
Um, my daughter's 17, almost 18 years old. She was only in her life for like about 5 years.
Oh wow.
The
Yeah.
rest of that time, she's been with her grandma,
Mhm.
her great grandma, and her aunt, which currently has custody of her or temporary custody,
Right.
pending my takeover.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to do. I've been trying to get out. I couldn't leave the state for 2 years at least. I got off parole about 6 months
Mhm.
ago, 7, 8 months ago, and that's
Mhm.
my next move. Going up to Oregon and
Good.
getting
Yeah.
my baby girl for sure.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right. Well, you're on the right
yeah,
path.
yeah, for
We
sure. Thank you. Yeah,
believe in
her
that.
mom's
Yeah.
out. Her mom's out, but she's like I said, she's had 3 other kids, 4 other kids now, and
Yeah.
that's what she's focused on. She's long,
Sure.
and not in a bad way, but she's long
Hmm.
let go of my daughter, and
Right.
my daughter lives with her brother, her half brother,
Hmm.
which my baby mama gave birth to with another dude, and
Hmm.
they live together. They've been together for a long time,
Okay.
and but yeah, she takes care of two of the other ones that she has, and then the third one, I guess the family of whoever she was with, they take care of that kid.
Oh, okay. Okay. Got it. Just real quick before I move on to the next topic, is it true? Because I have a friend. She helps her family out as much as she can. They're in El Salvador right now too. Is it true that the finances are now the same there as they are here as far as the
Yeah,
dollar?
yeah.
Wow.
Your $20 is the same thing as now. They converted they have a U.S. dollar currency now. My pops was just telling me about that like about a year ago now, a couple years
Yeah,
ago
when
now.
she told me that, I was tripping
Yeah,
out.
no longer colones. It's
Mhm.
they converted the currency to US dollars. So if you send her $20, that's what she's gonna get. In Mexico, $20 is a good chunk of change. Over there, it's just
Mhm.
$20. Yeah, the
Oh,
US
that's
won,
true.
unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. That's
Yeah.
crazy. Let's see. Hi guys. Okay. Um, so also I had heard in one of your videos I heard you mention Kern Valley that you were there as well. Was
Mhm.
that like early mid 2000s?
No, that was the last prison I was at. I was in
Oh, the
Kern
last
Valley
one.
from yeah, I was in Kern Valley from maybe like for like 3 years, from
Oh, okay.
2016 to 2019. Six, seven, eight,
Oh,
nine. So yeah, 7, 8, 9 for like 3 years, almost 4 years in Kern Valley. Yeah. My last four
okay.
years of my term I was in Kern Valley. Yeah.
All right. All
On A
right.
yard and then D yard.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, it was, I mean, it was probably early 2000s, but I remember that one specifically because my brother's first term, he was there. So I remember visiting that one. And it was so hot there. It was so hot in
Yeah, it
those
gets pretty
visiting
hot there
rooms.
too.
Ugh.
You
Yeah.
want to know what gets hot?
Hmm.
If you're in Ironwood, any of the four desert prisons out south, which is Ironwood, Chacawala, Centinela, or
Yeah.
Calipatria,
Hmm.
those are deserts prisons.
Hmm.
It freaking gets hot over there. I'm talking about 120 degrees hot.
Oh my
It gets hot. So any heat that you ever felt in the Central Valley or Northern California
God. Yeah.
or even in Southern California was nothing compared to the Arizona border prison, Yuma, all that stuff right there,
Yeah.
or even close to the Mexican border, Mexicali. That's
Hmm.
the desert, man. It gets freaking hot. 7
Yeah,
a.m.
that's
in the
what it
morning,
does.
it's already plus 90 degrees at 7 in the morning. Where I remember walking out of the building, going to breakfast at 7 in the morning, and the heat
Hmm.
just assaults your face like an oven at 7 a.m. in the morning. That's desert for you. For yeah, it's
I'm
something that I
just
was saying
imagining that feeling. Yeah, you putting it that way makes it reality for me as a mom cooking. You know what I mean? Opening the oven and that wave of heat. Damn,
That's what it
that's
feels like. Yeah,
crazy.
I mean, the human body adapts to so many freaking
Hmm.
uh, extreme situations. And just to put it in context, I used to wear a thermal
Hmm.
out to the yard, and there's this thing called the misters area, which is like a little shower head, couple
Hmm.
of toilets, couple of sinks where you could wash off and things like that.
Hmm.
I used to take off my shirt, soak it, dripping, soaking wet, put it on.
Hmm.
It would take like 20 to 30 minutes, not even, and it would dry like a freaking dryer. I would soak my thermal like 3 to 4 times in the 2 hours, and it would dry
Hmm.
completely every single time. And that's
Oh
how I
my.
survived that heat. So when you have a wet shirt on, and
Hmm.
obviously like the Arabian deserts, you have a
Right.
lot of people always wonder like how can they be clothed so like with that big old robe. It's because that robe makes them sweat, and when the air
Hmm.
goes into the robe, it works like a cooling system because your sweat,
Wow.
when the air hits it, it cools you off. That's how they
Hmm.
survive. So same concept. The
Hmm.
thermal, the air used to hit my thermal, and now all the way you used to dry it. It actually used to feel refreshing, but it was still hot. It was crazy hot over
Oh,
there.
no doubt. Yeah, I can only imagine. No doubt. Did you ever run into a issue with? I mean, I can imagine COs are all different, but did you ever run into an issue where one or more took personal issue with you or gave you a hard time, or did you normally have a decent interaction? I know you don't interact much with COs when incarcerated, but I've talked to someone recently that had said they had a certain CO that would always sort of pick on them or, make their life difficult. I'm just wondering if you would ever experienced that.
Okay, so yeah, while that is true, there is some certain COs that are dickheads, and they verbally, very few of them will disrespect you verbally. As long as you
Hmm.
don't get disrespected verbally in the prison system, you don't have to
Yeah.
do anything. But if somebody disrespects you and calls you a certain name, then you
Hmm.
have to do what you have to do, and you're definitely gonna lose that battle, no matter how much you damage them. But no, fortunately, even though I was in a situation where they hit your cell, they raid your cell, they search you, they freaking toss your things up, they treat your property like it's nothing. But as far as any physical or disrespectful terms, very few of them, if any, will disrespect you like that because they know the consequences. They know that they have to fight a whole a
Oh, I
faction,
bet.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
So while there is abusive COs in the sense where they harass your cell and your
Mm-hmm.
belongings, they rarely sit there and disrespect you. And those who do have a battle
Mm-hmm.
coming. So no, fortunately, no, I never got into it with any COs. I know Calipatra State Prison is the only prison where that's maybe an exception, where there are
Mm-hmm.
still COs that go in there. They may be on steroids or shit. They might have a backup, or they want to sit there and disrespect the inmates because and back in 2005 they had that infamous riots
Yeah.
against the COs. So
Mm-hmm.
they may be a little bit of that chip in their shoulder to whether they feel they have to disrespect the inmates,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a constant battle. But as far as any other prison, no. IGI may be a little different. That's the gang investigators
Mm-hmm.
in there. They may sit there and walk with a little strut in their step, chest
Right.
pumped up, a little pressure case, little
Mm-hmm.
freaking Stone Cold Steve Austin swagger to them, if you will.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, I never ran into any of those situations. Even though they are, you know, however rare they may be, it does happen. But fortunately, like I said, no, I never. I had a good rapport with the COs,
That's good.
just by default. By the
Mhm.
fact of me not even speaking to them too much.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember my dad telling me once back in the day, like, because my brother's first term, my dad was still working. He was a correctional officer at Soledad.
Yeah.
So it was real tricky for him to go visit, because he didn't want to be recognized for obvious reasons,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it did eventually end up happening, and he didn't go visit after that. But there were some CEOs that were real, like you said, that seemed roided out or like they had a complex. I
Yeah.
remember once they made me change my clothes like 3 times. Um,
Oh yeah. Oh no,
oh,
the visiting cops.
oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
See, the visiting cops are some other shit. The visiting cops hate the fact that our families are sitting there dedicated to us, that they sit there and waste, quote unquote, their time for
Yeah.
this piece of crap. If it's just human
Mm-hmm.
society, like they're on some other shit. They hate the fact they hate their job. They're miserable. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you have your miserable dudes in there. You really do. You know, but they kind of hold their tongue. You know,
Right.
because they know better. But as far as visiting wise, I've heard it. I've never had a visit, but I definitely heard the stories where them dudes would sit there just be miserable at our people. Um,
Yeah.
I definitely had a lot of cellies that used to get visitors, and I would
Mm-hmm.
hear his stories about how they would harass him, how they would just give him a hard
Oh
time just
yeah.
because you're visiting your loved ones. It's crazy. Yeah, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you're definitely
It's
right on that.
definitely, yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely true. You always like as a visitor, you go in kind of trying to size up who's working that day, and okay, is this guy going to be a jerk, or how does he look, or how does she look? The
They
females
hate
would,
it. They
yeah,
hate it.
and
I used to
normally,
hear shit. I used to hear shit like they used to actually like dudes actually try. Okay, so the homies that are in there that have you know cute girls coming to visit them,
hmm
there will be COs not only try to get at them, but like telling them
hmm
like, "Why do you come visit him? He's a freaking low life." That type of
that
shit.
part, yeah,
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. Oh my god, don't get me started. Yeah,
right, right,
I never got a visit, so I never had to go through that. But
yeah,
yeah, unfortunately, you females have to go through that shit, and it's unfortunate because they're supposed to be better than us, right? They're supposed to be
yeah,
the good guys in society, right? But they're just as bad as us in many cases, just that they haven't got caught. That's
yeah,
all.
yeah. You do learn that, eventually, if you're going through it, you do learn it. You just have to do your best to. I would encourage everyone to brush it off and show up again and just, hold your head high and just get through it. Don't say
Exactly.
too much, just do what you got to do.
Well said. Well
Yeah,
said.
yeah, for sure. As far as your cellies, did you always end up with normally someone that you were cool with, or how did that work out for you?
Oh shit, man. No, I mean, the worst situation in prison is the lockdowns.
Okay.
Um, I did okay. So in Corcoran, New Corcoran, SATF on the 180 level 4 is Sea
Mm,
Yard for those of you guys that are familiar. It's one of the most political, high-powered prisons that there is next to Pelican Bay. Those are the two main prisons, Pelican Bay and then Corcoran.
mhm,
So on the 180 there, because Corcoran Street Prison is a 270, it's a regular level 4. And then SATF, which is in the same compound, it's known as New Corcoran, the new prison, the new side of
mhm,
the Corcoran prison. It's a 180. It's the highest level 4 that you could be at. one of the most political prisons that you could, be at. So I was there for about 4 years, and we went at it with the norteños, and we proceeded to be on lockdown maybe like about 3 days before Michael Jackson died in
Wow.
2009. Father's
Mm-hmm.
Day, we kicked off a riot on Father's Day. Maybe like about a few days later, Michael Jackson died. I still remember that because you always
It
have your
was during that.
memories
Yeah.
attributed to whatever happens, big
Mm-hmm.
events. So yeah, so we got locked down. Uh, Fortunately, I didn't have no bad cellies back then. But my point with that is that I ended up doing 2.5 years on a lockdown. I only left my cell like once every couple of months for 2.5 years. So imagine being locked into your closet for 2.5 years. Put that in context, guys. I definitely felt it. I try to lose myself in books, try to
Mm-hmm.
lose myself in a routine, and try to do the same thing over and over and over and over again until I got
Mm-hmm.
tired of doing the same thing over and over again. And then I still had to do the same thing over and over again for years to come.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's definitely something that will systematically change your mentality. For anybody that's out here that's ever wondered why I'm rehabilitated, why I'm reformed,
Mm-hmm.
it's because I've been into the most extreme situations that you could ever think of. I lived some of the most extreme situations that any Mexican mafia member has ever lived through. That's the
Mm-hmm.
thing. Like, you don't have to be a Mexican mafia or Nuestra Familia mafia member to have done, in some cases, put in more work than them. In some cases have been in more because you got to understand, a lot of these dudes, yeah, they put in work, they did their thing, they're killers, but they were
Mm-hmm.
locked down for decades. We were the ones out on the main line fighting the wars. We were the ones out on the main line stabbing each other, going in and out of the shoe, going on lockdown, doing all the freaking dirt. And they were sitting
Mm-hmm.
in the back watching TV. Yeah, isolated. I'm not downplaying that, but
Mm-hmm.
we were the ones actually, you know,
With the action. Yeah.
with the action. It
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the truth. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I've had some I had some bad sallies, man. One of my worst sallies was in Centinela and the Oyo on C6. Anybody that knows Centinela, C6 is the hole. They have two holes. They had A5 and AR that's overflow, and they have C6 is the main hole. I had a celly
Mm-hmm.
over there in C pod, one of the first cell, the second cell next to the shower, and man, he was a J cat. He was crazy,
Mm-hmm.
and I must have gotten like in a good 6 fights with this dude. You know, he was one of the dudes that tried to bully me. I was on the top
Mm-hmm.
bunk. I got down to brush my teeth. Hey, you're being too loud. He tried to get up, bully me. He was way bigger than me, and I just took
Mm-hmm.
off on him. And then we were fighting all 6 times. He was just crazy. He had a couple screws missing, and
Yeah.
it was a constant struggle. But hey, fuck it, it is what it is. And
Yeah.
he ended up getting what he had coming from politically because back there in the hole, only your celly could take care of you. Meaning, if you had
Mm-hmm.
something coming, only your celly could do something to you because you only go to yard or cage. Any type of movement, the only
Mm-hmm.
person that has access to you is your celly. So if your
Got it.
celly's a bully and he's messing up and he has something coming, only I could take care of him. So I was sitting
Mm-hmm.
there fighting this dude all the time because he was a bully. My neighbor
Mm-hmm.
was on the mesa, meaning the political structure, and he's like, "Hey, stab him," which I ended up doing.
Mm-hmm.
But it was bad. It was bad. And then I had a few other cellies that we had disagreements because you got to understand, you got two grown ass men. Think about how irritated you get at some individuals sometimes or some people, right?
Yeah.
What's the positives about the streets, right? You could actually walk
Right.
away, right? You could go about your
Mm-hmm.
way, go catch your deep breath, come back, and
Mm-hmm.
you start all over. And there, you
Right.
can't do that. You're freaking stuck. There ain't no. The farthest you're gonna go is to the toilet or on top of your bunk. And since
Right.
it's dangerous men that are gang members that have a history of violence, what are you gonna
Mm-hmm.
do? Back down from each other? You know,
Mm-hmm.
so you couldn't run
Yeah.
from things in there, unfortunately. So it's crazy. I'm glad you asked that question, man. It's one of the things that actually is one of the worst experiences in prison, living with your cellmate. And
Mm-hmm.
it's dangerous. I said it in one of my videos. One of my boys from Clanton, he was from Clanton over there in San
Mm-hmm.
Fernando, 14th Street. His celly ended up killing him. But yeah, you could very easily lose your life from your fellow Sureño or your fellow Norteño or your fellow white man,
Mm-hmm.
black man, native or Asian. You could easily kill each other on a lockdown like nothing.
Yeah.
So that's a very good question, man. I'm glad you asked that.
Yeah, thank you. I've wondered, you know what I mean? Because I mean, here people are stressing out over what's going on in the world right now, in the outside world. Oh, we got to stay at home with our families. And I've often thought it could be worse, you know? You could be faced with not being able to go into the other room or
In
not
the
get away.
extreme, in the extreme, it
Hmm.
sucks. Scary. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's scary.
Oh, I
It's
bet.
scary. You know, you rise up to the challenge, and you know it is what it is. You tell yourself like, "Fuck, man, I gotta do this. Let's do it, man. Hopefully, I
Yeah,
win. Hopefully, I
yeah,
win
definitely.
for
This
sure."
is, I mean, I don't really know. I can't, I would love to go into detail about this. Maybe we can offline, and once it's wrapped up, we can talk about it online. Have you ever heard of someone taking their celly out and not being charged? Like it being called mutual combat or no?
Uh, okay. So this is what happens if you're with your Sally and you get in a fight and you end up killing them.
Hmm.
You're gonna go to the hole for a minimum of 6 months to a year for investigation.
Hmm.
That's the minimum. Uh, Unfortunately, as hard as some individuals claim to be, there's always going to be a situation, and this is why I decided not to kill my celly. One, because I'm a human being, I didn't want to take his life.
Right.
Two, I knew him from when I was a kid. Three,
Mm.
I knew somebody was going to tell on me. So there's just several factors, and I was just done with the lifestyle. But
Right.
even if I would have been with the business at the time, and I would have done it, I still would have known that somebody's going to tell on me eventually. And no
Yeah.
matter how hard an individual could be, somebody's going to tell, because you got this thing called the RICO Act, a federal indictment, and dudes are trying to preserve their own freedom, and somebody that's in the circle that knows all the details, that's in the political
Hmm.
system, that claims to be a freaking mafia badass, is going to end up freaking telling on the little guy. Like me,
Yeah.
I'm just a soldier putting in work. So I knew that
Hmm.
I was susceptible to that. So yeah, I've never heard of a situation where the truth never came out. So if you got in a fight with your Sally and you
Hmm.
righteously defended yourself, yeah, you could probably beat that case. Rarely. You still got to contend with the DA. The DA is going to paint you like a freaking animal. He's going to
Yeah.
say that you killed him viciously, and he's going to use your past crimes, especially if you're doing life, and he's just doing more of the same. So very rarely does a dude actually get off killing
Yeah.
his celly. And since you already have life, you probably end up signing for another life sentence or 20, 30 years, whatnot,
Hmm.
even if you know you defended yourself.
Hmm.
So very rarely you're going to get away with it. Now,
Yeah.
the other side of the coin that I'm talking about, if it was an actual sanctioned hit, a call, somebody's going to tell on you. So whether it be 5, 10, 20 years down the line, murder and attempted murder has no statute of limitations. They're going to snatch you up for it. So
Hmm.
there's just a lose-lose situation. So yeah, it's just a bad situation all around for sure. So you don't get away with it, even if you
Yeah.
righteously defend yourself. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. Got it.
I would say that you would pretty much have to have the CO in front of your cell when you start fighting, and he would have to
Hmm.
witness the dude attacking you, and then you killed him for him to say it was self defense. Other than that, the DA is not going to believe you. He's going to paint the
Yeah.
worst picture of you, and you're not going to get away with it.
Yeah, because they already have a preconceived notion of who and what you are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Now, when you with so your brother is still sort of going through whatever he's doing and the way he's living. Are you able to maintain a relationship with him since you've gone on to be a family man and sort of live your life?
Okay, so yeah. Okay, so when I dropped out of the gangs and I did all that stuff, I thought about reaching out to him and let him know, look, this is why I did it. I'm done. Whether
Mhm.
you mess with me or not, it's besides the point. But I chose not to. Ultimately, I couldn't even bring myself to write that letter. I kept telling myself like, this is why I did it. But you gotta understand that it's one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make in my life. Because I
Mhm.
lived my life with the gang mentality. With my career, that was my career. I lived that shit one hundred
Mhm.
percent. So when I had to drop out, and dishonor myself, um, although I did leave with my dignity intact, meaning I didn't tell nobody, I didn't inform on anybody, and that
Right.
was my own little notion at the time.
Mhm.
as far as living with my dignity, right?
Mm-hmm.
I told myself I was trying to find a way to tell my brother that, and ultimately my pride got in the way, and in a good way. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
screw this. If he doesn't want to mess with me, I don't got nothing to explain to you. You know, you're my blood. You're my brother. If you don't want to fuck with me, then you don't fuck with me. Straight up. I don't got to
Mm-hmm.
sit here and explain myself. So I went back and forth with that, you know, and ultimately I decided to hold to my own pride and be like, nah, fuck that. If you ever want to mess with me, then you're going to mess with me. But yeah, and it was the right thing to do. A few years went by, then I got out, and then the first thing, the first conversation we had, he grilled me. He was like, "You better not fucking be a 2-5er and all kinds of shit." I was, "You're a freaking 2-5er." I was like, "Serious? Like that's
Yeah.
how you're gonna get at me? That's freaking like
Like
everybody that
that?
checks in, everybody that goes Sense and Wise a 2-5er automatically or some
Right.
shit." Come on, dog. You should know, you're my brother. You should know me better than this shit. So
Mm-hmm.
no, no, yeah. So yeah, no, I didn't join no damn prison gang. I rode solo. You know, I got into my
Mm-hmm.
incidents, but I rolled solo. And there's a lot of the majority in
Mm-hmm.
the SNY yards are rolling solo. There's a lot of gangs there, but there's a lot of homies that are rolling solo. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and actually they find their own little cliques and their own little 3 to 4 men to actually
Mm-hmm.
find allies in each other, so that the
Right.
gang members don't mess with them. That type of shit. You know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's how it is. It's just, you could do whatever you want on that side. You could kill somebody, you don't have to
Mm-hmm.
answer up to no powers.
Yeah.
Unless you kill one of the gang members. If you kill one of them, they're gonna come get you. But
Mm-hmm.
the majority of my gang members. So yeah, once we got through that conversation, I was come on now, look, miss me with that. So his rationalization, his justification in still talking to me was the fact that it took a few years for him to vet my story in his eyes. He actually heard my situation.
Mm-hmm.
I really checked in because of the reasons that I said I checked in.
Right.
And then he's like, I heard your story, this and that, and you didn't tell nobody, dog. So that's why I fuck with you, So yeah,
Yeah.
told me you don't have to fuck with me, man. You don't have to talk to me, man. Straight up. If that's your standards of why you're gonna talk to me, you don't have to talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't tell on nobody because I know how it is to be told on. My controlling case, my victim told on me. So
Mm-hmm.
I just don't believe in bringing anybody down.
Yeah.
So,
Respect.
and I don't say that with the pride as far as being active or gang related. No, I don't say
Mm-hmm.
that because of that. I don't believe in being anybody's downfall. But that's the
Mm-hmm.
reason when my brother still talks to me, because he knows that I don't have no smut on my jacket, none of that. And,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to hang up the gloves because of the situation that I found myself in, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
And he was mad. He was mad. He was like, "Fuck, dude, man, you almost out of there. You were gonna get out active. You're gonna be good. And fuck, man, they had to ask you to do this." He was fucking pissed. I told him, "Hey, fuck, how you think I felt? How the hell do you think I felt? I didn't have life. And then freaking asked me to do this and shit. The sad part is that if you would have asked me 3 to 5 years before that, I would have done it. That's the sad part. Because I was
Mm-hmm.
still in transition mentally.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was his threshold. That was his justification on why he still talks to me. But
Yeah.
yeah, he's hella involved. He's 100% involved, and
Mm-hmm.
he knows that it's not the life. But he's like, hey man, this is all I know. This is what I'm gonna
Yeah.
do, and it is what it is. I told him, okay, cool, I respect that. You already know
Mm-hmm.
where I stand. You stand. You're my brother. I love you, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna talk to you as a civilian. I actually had somebody on my other regular YouTube before I started my channel, and,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, that's why your brother this and that don't fuck with you. I was like, my brother don't fuck with me. I talk to my brother every day. He's like, wait till
Yeah.
the big homies hear about this. I'm like, you're such a jackass. And this is
Yeah.
coming from somebody that's never been anywhere. Anybody that I had this dude tell me that because I wore the New York hat and it was an N,
Mm-hmm.
that I would have got beat up because it's a norteño N. That's how ridiculous some people are.
Yeah.
That's how that's how extreme they think that prison is. It's nothing like that. You don't get beat up over trivial shit like that. It doesn't exist.
Right.
And this is the type of individuals I have to deal with day in, day out.
Mm-hmm.
So when he told me this, he's like, I told him like, go ahead and try to smut my brother up. See what he does to you. My brother got juice in his world, And when he talks to me, he's talking to a civilian. He's not talking to an active gang member. He's talking to a
Yeah.
civilian. If I was still pushing the lifestyle and still trying to be a gang member and being false and all that shit,
Mm-hmm.
then he would be allowed to talk to me. But
Mm-hmm.
people don't understand is that hundreds of thousands of individuals that were active before are no longer active. They have family members that are active. So the
Yeah.
members of the organization actually have family members that are no longer active as well. And they
Mm-hmm.
talk to them. So they actually granted themselves permission to talk to this individual so long as they're, still good. No, we're not rats
Mhm.
and not homos and shit like that.
Right.
And if they PC it up, or as long as they stay away from the lifestyle, you could talk to them. That type of stuff.
Mhm.
They
Mhm.
rationalize it and they excuse it. So that's the situation. I love my brother. It is what it is. I'm on my
Yeah.
own path. He's on his own path, and that's just it's about as real as it gets. Honestly, I'm giving
Yeah.
you the raw, Jen. Like, for real, I'm telling you shit that
I
that
appreciate
a lot of
you.
people.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. Like that's what's up. That's one thing that I did notice and I peeped about your channel and the way you are is you give it to people real, in my opinion,
Yeah.
as a civilian. You know what I mean?
Anybody,
Um,
anybody, and I told my sorry to interrupt you. I told my brother like 2 5 come on, like the only neighborhood I will always be from is the neighborhood that I grew up in. I will
yeah.
always be from the neighborhood in the sense where that's where I grew up. It's gonna be in my heart.
Yeah.
No longer active, I no longer push it out of
Mhm.
respect for what I used to believe in. But
Mhm.
just think about anybody that went to the other side and they started a new gang. I mean,
Mhm.
that's like the worst of the worst. How are you gonna drop one gang to join another gang? In my opinion, no
Yeah.
disrespect to nobody, but how are you gonna
Mhm.
drop one gang to join another? How can you take yourself serious? But I'll stop
Mhm.
there because at the risk of alienating anybody, but
Yeah.
I'm a
No,
positive man. I don't even care. Yeah, for sure.
yeah. You're not the first person I've heard that
Yeah,
from, and yeah, I follow what you're saying for
yeah,
sure.
for sure.
Yeah. Most definitely. So when you were about to be jumping forward to when you knew you were going to be released, was approaching your release date, what did you was it like totally mind blowing for you that you were about to be a free man? Did you have a game plan? Like were you prepping for something or was it just like crazy?
No, I mean, I was about as ready as I was ever gonna be mentally. As far as I had been getting my education even when I was active. I want to say a good
Mhm.
5 years before I even had to face with that decision to go to the other side. I was already taking classes. I was already, my degree, my college degree, all my classes. I had already been taking all that stuff. I had
Mhm.
graduated and completed so many programs, read thousands of books, all that stuff. So I had soaked up game as much as I could. So I was gonna be ready mentally as much as I was ever gonna be. As
Mhm.
far as the reality of it, tangibly, yeah, I was nervous. I
Yeah.
shit. Come on, it was so surreal. It wasn't real to me. Like I know that there's people in there that do 20 something plus years, but shit, 15 years is enough for you to start feeling the deprivation of your freedom, to where it starts
Mhm.
becoming surreal. You start forgetting about how it is to be out there. You really do.
Mhm.
So that being said, um, I knew that no matter what, fuck it, just let me out. I'll figure it out. I didn't even know I had nowhere to parole to. um 3 day up until 3 days before I was released. They finally came to me 3 days. Actually, a week before, they're like, "Look, we don't have no program, no halfway house for you. You're gonna be
Mhm.
parole homeless." So I was like, "Hey, man, throw me out there to the woods with a stick and and a rock. And, I'll spark some shit up and hunt
Yeah.
a squirrel down. I'll survive. I'll do something.
Right?
But yeah, so, but 3 days before, they're like, "Look, Nancy Clark's, that's the name of the program. Nancy Clark's accepted you, and but there were an acute extreme rehab program. I'm talking about a
Mhm.
program where it was specifically focused on addicts. I'm talking about like detox type things. I
Yeah.
wasn't coming off no detox. I was just coming out of prison. I was clean.
Mhm.
Um, but nonetheless, it was a bed. It was a bed
Mhm.
to lay my head on a pillow. I was like, hell yeah, shit, I'll go. I don't care. So I
Right.
completed that program for 6 months. But just to give you an idea, when the day finally came, I didn't sleep at all. They locked everything down about 9 o'clock. The cops
Mhm.
came around for countdown. They locked down the doors. And my celly, he was a lifer, and
Mhm.
he went to sleep because maybe about 3 to 4 days, because I had the bottom bunk, right. Maybe like
Mhm.
about 3 to 4 days before I got out, I gave him the bottom bunk. I'm like, here, fool, shit, I'm gone. I got days
Mhm.
left. That's you, man. Take over the cell. I moved
Mhm.
my TV up to the top of the locker. He moved his down. I'm like, hey, make yourself at home. This is your cell now.
Mhm.
So I just sat there at the top bunk, like, we're ready to go. But the last night, I didn't have nothing. My TV was gone. I gave my TV away. I gave everything away. I had was my pictures and my letters,
Mhm.
and that's all I had, and the clothes that I was gonna wear. And so I was just sitting there waiting. I tried to go to sleep, but I couldn't go to sleep. And I must have, if
Thank you.
anybody's ever drank,
Thank you,
if
Julio.
yeah, good stuff. If anybody's ever drank a strong ass cup of coffee and then try to go to sleep, you can't. That's what that was for me. My mind was spinning. I couldn't go to sleep. So about 4 o'clock, they finally came. Dun, dun, knocked at the door, flashed the light, roll it up. I could. It's just, I kind of get emotional, and I'm
Mm,
not an emotional person.
yeah, yeah.
You kind of making me relive this shit. I haven't even relived this since I got out. But and that's when it became real. I was like, shit, he
Yeah.
handcuffed me at the door. Let's go, boom, sent me to R&R, and he gave me this right here. So I took a picture. And they put me in the cell waiting. And they took a picture. This is my ID that they gave me. And for those of you that can get that screenshot fast enough when you go back, you know my name, and it's all good. I don't care. But that's what they give you. They give you an ID, and once they give you the ID, it's like shit. Now all you're waiting for is the bus. That's all you're waiting for—a little white bus or a
Yeah.
van, not even a bus, a van. And yeah, they
Mhm,
dropped me off in Bakersfield at the station, and I was so
mhm.
institutionalized, dude. I was so institutionalized because I remember hearing that they have to escort you to the Greyhound bus and then wait
Yeah.
for you to get on the bus and all this shit, right? And that's the last thing I had heard, maybe like about 10 years before, So this is all I knew. You gotta understand, everybody around me that I had tried to ask, dude, they've been in there for decades and they're lifers. They're never gonna get out. And they've never been out, But I had
Mhm.
nobody to actually give me a blueprint like how I was gonna be like, right? The
Right.
last dude that was able to give me this was 10 years before.
Yeah.
So I get off the van. It was me, and like about it was four of us in the van.
Mhm,
All actives, three actives. I was the only one that came from a SNY yard, but
mhm,
they came from the level 2 yard, the support yard or level 1 yard. So
mhm.
even though I was on the other side, I was still in a level 4 yard. They were still looking at me like, oh shit, we hear all the shit that goes on over there.
Yeah.
So they were still looking at me like, oh shit, like they were kind of scared. And then they were
Yeah.
active. So I was like, man, I
Mhm.
don't care, bro. Shit, we're getting out, man. You go your
It's
way, I'm gonna go
fine.
my way. I'm trying to get out,
Mhm.
my boy. And then we're on the same trip, active or not. Shit, they're trying to go home. They ain't trying to fucking do all
Yeah.
that shit. So yeah, I get off the bus and I'm looking at the CO like this, and he looks at me like, "Go, you're free." I was waiting like a puppy. That's how
Yeah.
institutionalized it was. So when he tells me to go, I didn't hesitate. I was gone. I
Yeah.
went straight to the station. Unfortunately, there was no buses all the way till midnight, so I had to go all the way to the Amtrak down the street, and I ended up catching a bus and then the train. And yeah, I had a hell of a culture shock when I got to LAX for sure. There
Oh,
was
I bet.
there was people from all around the world, literally. You're talking. Somebody asked me this recently. Um, so you have your culture shock as getting out
Mhm.
meeting regular, people from California, United States citizens.
Yeah.
I literally had a freaking worldwide culture shock, meaning there was people from the Middle East, there was people from Albania, there's people from freaking Europe, from freaking Norway, there was people from all over the place. And the whole tunnel, the whole terminal was fucking packed with people. And my world started spinning because PTSD. I
Yeah.
just came from a
Of
cell.
course.
But yeah, that was basically the my experience. So yeah, it was
It
definitely
sounds,
surreal.
yeah, yeah, it sounds mind blowing. Going from being down 15 years, walking into basically the United Nations, hearing all these
Yeah,
different
yeah,
voices and dialects and languages. What
that's
a
what it
trip.
was. United Nations. Yeah,
Yeah.
shit. Once I gathered my bearings, though, I was good. I got on the
Yeah.
Amtrak. I was giddy. I was excited. I couldn't get off my phone. I
Oh, I
actually met
bet.
in Bakersfield. I actually the first dude that ever talked to me at the terminal tried to sell me drugs because they know that these dudes are coming out of prison with the $200 gate money, so they're trying to make some money. And it's actually smart if you think about it. If you want to make money,
Hmm.
not something that I agree with, but So
Yeah.
I told him, no, I'm good. But if you lead me to the nearest Metro PCS, I would appreciate you. I give him like $10 and shit.
Hmm.
I got a nice clean Alcatel phone, and that was shit. That was a world to me right there, man. I was on the bus like this,
Yeah.
messaging and shit. It was
Right.
good, man.
Tripping out on that
Definitely,
phone for a while.
yeah, for
That's
sure. I've
right.
been off since. I've been off since.
Right. I hear
Everybody
that a
does.
lot. Yeah. Like the phone is the thing. Like you can get caught up on that phone forever.
I mean, they got phones in there, but honestly,
Yeah.
I had my boys that had phones in there, but I wasn't
Mhm.
even trying to get the phones because if you
Mhm.
get caught one of those, that was 120 days. That's 4 months added
Mhm.
to my sentence. But if you got life, it doesn't matter. Fuck, you could catch me with 20,000 phones. It doesn't matter to
Mhm.
me. But since I'm not trying to lose any more days, I couldn't even have a phone on myself because I just didn't want to risk it, for sure.
Right, of course, of
So
course.
definitely delayed
Yeah.
gratification on that for sure.
Yeah, most definitely. So then you're home, you make yourself at home. Now you have a 10-month-old, right? So
Yeah.
you have a baby now, a family, a wife, and what is that like for you? Did you ever imagine you would be back in this position to be like basically living the American dream? Like you have your family and everything. Beautiful family, by the way.
Thank you. What's your question? What does it feel like?
Yeah. Did you ever think that that was something that would happen for you? Like, or were you confident that that was going to happen?
Uh, okay. So I met my wife, my future wife at the time,
Mhm.
um, in prison. She was actually a counselor there. She used to work for one of the substance abuse curriculums that you used to teach. She was a worker at the prison. And for those of you that may be wondering, or just so you guys can know, my wife wasn't a type of promiscuous, easy to get type of woman. She wasn't trying to get an inmate. She wasn't trying to look at any inmate. She was professional. You know, the fact that we were able to connect was just something that was just destined to happen. You know,
Mhm.
that's not to say that we're gonna be together for the rest of our lives, even though I hope we are. Everything's
Yeah.
going great. I love her. We're great. We get along perfectly. Like I
Mhm.
said, I full-heartedly believe that destiny is destiny. Even though I made my mistakes when I got out.
Mhm.
Um, she was by no means a woman that was easy to get. Like I said, we just clicked. I was never trying to get at her. It was nothing like that. You got to understand that in there. Um, you got to be really careful on how you talk to female staff because us inmates, we're freaking terrified to do. They'll say some shit like, oh, we try to harass him, then we end up in a hole
Yeah.
for sexual harassment, some shit like that. So it was never my intentions to try to get at her. But you tell signs, you pick up on things, body language, body talk, shit like that. And one thing
Mhm.
led to another, and that was that. I haven't told my story yet, and I'm gonna tell it someday. But
Good.
that's
Yeah.
how I met her. And that's how I met her. And so she was the first one that I actually was texting on the
Oh,
bus.
yeah.
She had been emailing me under her friend's name because she couldn't use her
Mhm.
name.
Mhm.
I had been calling her, of course,
Mhm.
through the payphone. I couldn't even call her on the cell phone because I was that serious about
Yeah.
not getting caught and for any more time.
Mhm.
But yeah, I was scared because I knew that I had been down a long time,
Yeah.
and temptation is no joke. And unfortunately, I did succumb to it. Um, and my rationalization at the time was to not be with her technically.
Mhm.
Like I said, I made my mistakes, and and in order for me to be sure about what I was gonna do, I
Mhm.
felt like we couldn't be in a relationship at the time. And then ultimately, when I was all said and done, though, I knew she was the one for me. She hung in there, and she definitely showed me who she was. And I gave my whole dedication, loyalty, and everything to her. Since then, it's been a long time
Mhm.
now, and that's where it stands. That's my girl.
Yeah.
We got married, and everything's going great. My this was maybe about over 2 years ago when any of this happened.
Mhm.
We've been happily married for over a year now, and a good a year we've been together without another bullshit that I did. So we've
Mhm.
been together over a couple of years. We've known each other for 4 to 5 years.
Mhm.
We've been through ups and downs, but it definitely made me appreciate who I have, you
Yeah.
know, and I definitely know I have a good woman, forgiving woman. And I know that now as a grown ass man, now that I know, get my priorities straight and
Mhm.
I got 15 years out of my system,
Yeah.
type
Yeah.
shit, you know,
True.
um, uh, yeah, I definitely
Mhm.
appreciate what I have. So in the last 10 months when my little baby boy was born, um, it's been a roller coaster as far as, trying to adapt to his you have kids, you know what I'm talking about. The
Yeah.
whole he had allergies, food allergies,
Oh,
um,
yeah. My little one
the
too.
sleep
It's hard.
the sleepless. He had hella
Mhm.
acid reflux,
Oh.
sleepless nights. I was just talking about on my channel with an individual from Denver, and
Mhm.
recently he's starting to have constipation problems, and he starts yelling and
Mhm.
screaming because he's in pain, and
Yeah.
that shit tears me up, you know. But
Mhm.
we finally found a solution. Obviously, prune
Yeah.
pudding and the juice, and the
Mhm.
constipation, the little drops, the gripe, and all that. So
Yes.
yeah, it's definitely been a learning experience, a wonderful experience, and I wouldn't change it for the world, man. I said it earlier. That's a real man's job. A real man's job is to take care of their family, to raise a kid. That's a
Yeah.
freaking real man. You know, anybody could go out there and freaking gangbang and sit in the corner and fucking be a badass in front of girls and freaking do drugs and do all kinds of stupid shit.
Mhm.
It takes a real man, a dedicated, responsible man to actually sit there and go through the sleepless nights, changing diapers, running to the store when all you want to do is sleep, to get formula, to get diapers, or to get freaking medicine, or to take, that all this random freaking schedule because you're
Yes.
on your kids' time. You're not on your time no more. You're on your freaking kids' time.
Mhm.
That's what a real man and a real woman. Women have been doing. I
Mhm.
only say a real man because I don't have to explain the woman part of it. The woman has been doing this. She's been a badass since day one. So yeah, that's how I feel. So
I love that. I love that, El. That's what's up. It makes, I mean, as a just getting to know you, but a complete stranger, like that makes me proud. That makes me feel happy to see you sharing that
thank you.
information and just passing that on, you know what I mean, to the subscribers, to the next generation. Like it's so important.
They have to know it. Shit, they have to know it.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them are already living it. They know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So yeah, for sure.
Most definitely. What is your next venture plans with your channel? You're gonna keep pushing forward with your stories. What are you delving into next?
Um, it's kind of unpredictable as far as what the reaction's gonna be
Hmm.
because unfortunately, a lot of people don't seem to actually like the positive too much. They want the controversy, they want the gossip, they want the Mexican mafia headlines, which is cool, because I was gonna have a lot of that stuff coming with my
Hmm.
own message of danger and perils and the cautionary story. So I was always gonna do that. But
Hmm.
I'm actually networking with people right now. My next big venture right now is I hooked up with a nonprofit organization, and I'm talking about some individuals that are like, you know, they're 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 making millions. These dudes are actual businessmen, and I'm
Yeah.
hooking up with them. Just to give a sneak peek, I haven't even said it on my channel. Um,
Hmm.
I'm hoping to make an appearance on a podcast that has millions of views. I'm talking about a real podcast. Um, God is good. You know, and
Yeah.
I know the individual is hella busy. Somebody's gonna refer me. He's actually
Hmm.
for the organization. He's like the one that takes care of business matters for them, and he's gonna talk to him. He's gonna refer me and all that. I know there's a long list of people on there. They only get certain individuals on there, but I'm hoping if everything goes good, I get on there, and that's definitely gonna be a push for us. And I'm gonna come right back to us. This is where I'm
Hmm.
coming back to. Anybody pushing a positive message right now, it's definitely I won't forget and I won't turn my back on for sure.
Right.
I always say it. I don't care who says what about the next individual. You could
Hmm.
tell me anything you want about the next individual. Two exceptions, as long as you're not a chomo or a rapist. I stick to that to the day that I die.
Yes.
Anything else, don't come to me and tell me that this dude has done this or he's done that. I don't care. If he has
Hmm.
treated me with respect and been fair to me, I don't care what you have to say. That's your issue with that individual, and that's where that
Hmm.
shit stays. If he hasn't
Hmm.
treated me any type of way, I don't care what you have to tell me. Furthermore, why you're gossiping, especially if you claim to be a
Exactly.
respectful prison
Yeah.
man. That's the
That
number
part.
one thing you shouldn't be doing. You shouldn't be telling the next individual or female that this
Hmm.
dude did this. Dog, why are you gossiping to me right now?
Hmm.
Especially if you're a part of an organization, right? So, anyways, it just doesn't look right. So, furthermore, you could come do it all the time out here, whatever. Hey, look, that's your business. If you
Hmm.
haven't treated me a certain way, I give you the benefit of the doubt for sure. But that's where I'm trying to head right now. These are individuals that are really inside of the prisons. The ones that I'm speaking about are in New Jersey, several states, predominantly in Folsom State Prison. I'm working with inmates hands-on in the youth and juvenile halls and things like that. So
Right.
that's what I'm going to have soon on my program, even
Mhm.
probably before I go on the podcast potentially. Um, I don't know how it's gonna be received. I may get
Mhm.
100 views. But the magnitude and the caliber of the type of
Mhm.
individual that he is worthy of mainstream shit.
Yeah.
NBC
Okay.
News type shit. So we'll see
Right.
how it is taken. But
Mhm.
nevertheless, I'll give the people what they want. But you're always gonna hear my positive message attached to
Yeah.
it. You're not gonna get escape that. You could tune off if you want, but you're never gonna escape that. So yeah, for sure. And that's my next
Mhm.
things. But until then, I'll keep pushing the positive message. I'll keep
Mhm.
pushing stories. I know I'm going to go on a little run as far as mistaken identity cases because that's one of my
Mhm.
passions. People that
Mm.
have done 20, 30 plus years that ultimately get exonerated for cases for murders they didn't commit.
Yeah.
And think about it. Imagine you're walking down the street, dude, and they pick you up, they handcuff you because you're a stereotypical looking dude, and you
Mhm.
end up spending the next 2 decades in prison trying to fight your way out of there. And by the grace of God, there's been people that have been executed for crimes they haven't committed,
Yeah.
just to later be posthumously exonerated. When they're dead already.
Yeah.
It's like, damn, that's the type of stuff that I'm going to bring to, and a little bit of everything, and
Mhm.
definitely.
That's cool. I like that. It's so refreshing to speak to someone that has, and I'm sure there's many people out there, but there's a select few, and I consider you one of them, that
Thank you. Likewise.
you're capable of telling a real life war story, but you always seem to wrap it up with a positive spin on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you don't just drop it and end it, boom, that's what happened. There's
Yeah.
always a message behind what you preach, and I personally really appreciate it, and I see that a lot of the viewers really do as well. So thank you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you as well. Yeah. You have to, man. I mean, God forbid any of my kids have to go through that, or any of your kids or anybody's kids.
Mhm.
Obviously
Yeah.
we know it's an uphill battle. We know we're not gonna freaking eradicate this shit, and let's just be real. But if we could save
Mhm.
at least one life, shit, then we've done our job.
Right.
Can't save the world, but
Yeah,
at least we could try to save one person, right? For
I
sure.
agree. I agree most definitely.
Even though
I
Denise couldn't
appreciate.
remember my friends.
Hi, Denise. Thank you, Denise, by the way. Yeah.
That's my
Oh,
girl.
Denise. That's right. That's my girl, too. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to spend with me and the Convicted Hearts and everybody that joined in the chat. Like, this was a huge honor. And I
Appreciate
send
you.
you
Yeah.
all my best. And I'll be watching and supporting. So,
Yeah. Hey, like I said on my channel, anybody that doesn't know, my channel is A Prisoner's Awakening. Type it in exactly how you see it on my thing. And I'll be pushing your channel as well because, I enjoy it as well. For anybody that doesn't know, and thank you for having me. You have a good night. God bless you. God bless everybody in the chat. And you guys already know, smart man learns from his mistakes, but a wise man learns from other people's mistakes.
that's right, you
Remember
guys.
that.
Keep your heart convicted. You guys have a good night. Thank you,
Thank
Al.
you.
Good night.
Mhm.